My experience in Italy has been heavily influenced by the art I've seen. Pretty sure this is a common thread for most people's experiences in Rome, but it feels like every corner of the city contains such a sheer, concentrated amount of art that it can honestly be exhausting at times. The single amount of details in a church could be studied for weeks, but we don't have that kind of time. While I've always had an appreciation for art, my knowledge of Roman art has been kind of lacking. One of the only paintings I had a true background on was Raphael's School of Athens. I remember learning about this painting in my freshman year of college, and I remember being taken by it. I remember the architectural details, the way the scene plays out, and how Plato and Aristotle are framed in the center. Despite my knowing of the piece, I did not expect to randomly stumble upon it in the Vatican, did not know it was housed there, and it was weirdly emotional to see a painting that I had learned about just up on a wall. So if you saw me tear up, no, you did not. But while I remember the painting itself, I didn't remember a lot of the history and stuff that I had learned about the painting. I remembered that Plato pointed towards the sky because he was concerned with the heavens, and Aristotle's hand was down because he was more grounded, or at least that's what I remembered. Since this was all I remembered, I decided I wanted to know more. The School of Athens is housed in the Stanza della Signatura, or the Room of Signatures in the Vatican. It's paired along with 3 other frescoes, which are the Disputation of the Holy Sacrament, the Paracelsus, and the Cardinal Virtues. Each painting represents a different aspect of what Raphael wanted to contribute to this library that was given to one of the popes. The room was Raphael's first paintings in the Vatican and are considered to be the beginning of the High Renaissance. The School of Athens, however, is possibly the most famous paintings of all of the Renaissance. The painting depicts the great minds of the ancient world and various disciples surrounding them. Opposed to other paintings of the time of great minds, which would have them kind of just standing next to each other, the School of Athens shows the instructors working with the students side by side with the other instructors. There was a quote that I liked from a video that said, "We see not just the scholars, but the act of scholarship itself." If you focus on the teachers, you can see the way in which the students come to feel about what they're learning and how they feel about their instructors. I love the detail that the students surrounding Euclides are very involved in what they're learning, and you can tell that they have a deep understanding. And then the people that are surrounding Socrates look upset or bored. Little details like that are so important because it not only shows the characteristics of the time, but also the personalities of each individual teacher and how their students kind of felt about them during the time. The focal point of the piece is Aristotle and Plato engaging in their central disagreement about how knowledge is formed. We know that Plato points to the sky because he believed that knowledge was innate and within ourselves, and that to discover it we had to learn about the realms of the form. This differs from Aristotle, who has his hand down, because he believed that knowledge comes through our senses and experiences through our senses. In Plato's Republic, the forms are unchanging truths about our perceptions of the world. We know that through the allegory of the cave, the shadows represent the physical world and misrepresentation, and when the prisoners break free and see the real world, they become enlightened to the truth, and it kind of resembles how a philosopher comes to learn about the realms of the forms. This relates back to epistemology because the allegory addresses how we come to discover knowledge and the true nature of our reality. Aristotle's view, however, is basically the opposite. He believes that everything comes through our experiences and our senses and how we perceive the world. He believed that through a process of induction, people move from the senses to general principles to forming scientific knowledge. And if this sounds like the inductive method, it basically is. Francis Bacon in 1620 used Aristotle's ideas to basically create the inductive method As well as that, Aristotle also valued endoxa, which was the opinions widely held by the majority or experts for the basis for acquiring knowledge, which again sounds like the fact collecting that is used in the inductive method. Something that I've noticed about paintings around Rome is the breaking of the fourth wall. If you go into a gallery or a museum, you'll often notice that in group paintings there's usually one or more characters looking back at the viewer, almost aware of our presence, like we're watching them but they're watching us. It's a very weird feeling, but this is used in Raphael's School of Athens, and he does it for two of his characters. The first one is he paints himself into the painting, which feels like a 16th century Easter egg. And there's also Hypatia, who was a renowned philosopher, mathematician, and astronomer of her time. She's the only woman to be featured in the painting, and she was known for her intellectual achievements and writings. She was killed by a Christian mob purely for her intelligence, but her legacy remains as someone who had great knowledge and intellectual freedom. Her eyes watch the viewer almost as if she's waiting for you to kind of notice her in the painting. She looks out at the viewer to quietly affirm that she deserves her place in the School of Athens and that she will not soon be forgotten. In the School of Athens painting, there are 54 philosophers, mathematicians, and scientists, all studying their respective interests together. This is the idea that Galileo was fighting for a sort of compatibilism, the idea that none of these subjects are better or more important than the others, and that actually having a knowledge on all of these really helps for background on understanding our reality. He believed, as Raphael did, that philosophy and math can coexist and that they are intertwined. When Galileo insisted that his title include both mathematician and philosopher, he aimed to show that both should be celebrated and that it helps to have a math background as a philosopher. He also hated that there was a sort of smugness from philosophers toward mathematicians as if their subject were more important. There was a quote that I really liked from Galileo's daughter that said, he hated the notion that geometers should stick to their fantasies and not get entangled in philosophical matters, as if truth could ever be more than one. Unfortunately, the School of Athens is not meant to be an actual historical account of compatibilism, and rather a symbolic representation, but I'd like to think that if there were a modern School of Athens, Galileo would be painted among the other great minds of his era with proof of compatibilism.